Hi, this video we're going to talk about list, tuple, and dictionary. So what are list, tuple, and dictionary? They are containers used to store many variables and they can be iterated through a loop. So let's look at how we create an empty list, tuple, and dictionary. We create a variable mylist and assign it to an empty square bracket. And when you print mylist, an empty square bracket is created. So square brackets are used to create a list. If you use a round bracket, let's say you create a variable mytuple equals to empty round bracket and print, you'll see an empty round bracket created. So round brackets are used to create a tuple. We will talk about the difference between list and tuple later. And if you use a curly bracket and print, you'll see an empty curly bracket. Curly brackets are used to create a dictionary. We also get to see what's the difference between a dictionary and a list. So if you want to create a list, tuple, or dictionary with some content inside, how do we do it? We can create mylist equals to and put something inside the square bracket separated by comma. So in this case, I put two values inside, an integer value 5 and a string loop. And to print the content in the list, we use the name of the list. So when we print mylist, you'll see square bracket with 5 comma loop. This shows that there is two content inside this. You can imagine it as a container with two elements inside now. So the first one is 5, a value 5. The second one is a string loop. And it's stored inside this list called mylist. They are referenced by a position. So 5 is stored in position 0 and loop is stored in position 1. And notice that this is using a square bracket. For tuple is the same. Instead of using a square bracket, you use a round bracket and you print out the tuple. It will show you the content with the round bracket showing it is a tuple instead of a list. List is a square bracket, tuple is round bracket with 5 and loop. It is stored similarly like a list, so it works like a list. So 5 is in the first content and loop is in the second content. It is accessed using the name of the tuple, in this case my tuple, and notice it's accessed using a square bracket, not a round bracket. You only use the round bracket to create and you use the square bracket to access it. So the first element is stored in position 0, the second element is stored in position 1. This is how we create a dictionary with some values. Similarly, we want to create a value 5 and a string loop. We create it like this. It's also separated by comma, and you see the 5 here and the loop here. But you'll see something additional. Before the 5, there is a string with a column. Before the loop, there's also another string with a column. To print out this is also the same. You use the name to print out the content inside. Let's look at how these values are stored in a dictionary. So 5 is stored with this value topic. So in dictionary, it works a bit different from the list and the tuple. List and tuple use the position to store their value. So 0 and 1. But dictionary don't use a position. They use something called a key. It's a string. When we want to create this value 5, we must tell them what is the key for this value 5. So this is the key. So 5 and loop are both stored in the dictionary using a different key. So list and tuple stores values using position. Dictionary stores values using key. And so it's always having a key column value pair. You look here now, you understand that, oh, this 5 is the value, right? It is stored inside this key called topic. And you see topic column with the value, this is the key value pair. Separator, comma, another key value pair. Loop is stored in the key description. If you look at it, they are actually stored similarly as the list and tuple. The only difference is it's stored by using a key and list is stored by using a position. Tuple and list works exactly the same, with the only difference, tuple, once you create it, the content cannot be changed. A list is more flexible because you can change the value during runtime, while a tuple is used for speed and memory efficiency. The speed of accessing a tuple is faster than a list. Now let's look at how we access an item inside a list, tuple, and dictionary. So let's say we want to print out this element loop. We know it is stored in position 1. We just access it by the name of the list, square bracket with the position. And let's say you just access it just to print the value, you'll find that loop is printed. A tuple works exactly like the list. To access the data inside, it is exactly like the list. You use the position, and you must take note that you are using square bracket to access it, not round bracket. So you print position 1, you'll see the loop. And for dictionary, similarly, it is also using the square bracket to access the element. Instead of using the position, is using the key. And in this case, loop is stored inside description. So we use this description as the key to print out the loop. And for dictionary, some people may use the .get method to get the value. So if you use the square bracket notation, or you use the .get method and provides the key, both methods are accessing the same element. Can we add an item to these containers? Yes, we can. For list, you use the .append method. So let's say if you use my list.append 7, initially you have two elements, 5 and loop. After doing a .append 7, you print out my list. You will find that you have 5, loop and comma, another element is added, 7. If you try to do it for my tuple, you will find that you hit into an error because tuple once created, you cannot change the content. It does not support any functions that changes the content of the tuple. To add a value to the dictionary, you simply put square bracket with a new key. This dictionary has two elements. One key is topic, the other key is description. So you put another new key, square bracket week equals to 7. It will add this 7 into the dictionary. And when you print out, you'll find that now 5 is there, loop is there, comma, 7 is also there, and the key is week here. How do we update an item inside the list? So let's say we want to change this value from 5 to 10, and we know it's stored in the first position, position 0. We just use the name, square bracket 0, and say I want to change it to 10. So when you print the list, this is not 5 anymore, it's changed to 10. For tuple, you cannot change, so you can't do this for tuple. For dictionary, similarly, instead of using the position, you just use the key instead. So you just say, I want to change this key for topic to 10, and you override 5, and when you print out, this value now has changed to 10. How do we delete an item from the list and dictionary? For list, you use the delete method. So you use delete bracket and put the element you want to delete. So in this case, if I want to delete this element 5, delete element 0. When you print list, you find that now there's only two elements, loop and 7. And take note that now loop is the first element. It is accessed using the position 0. It's no longer using position 1. And you can also use the delete to delete the dictionary. Instead of using the position, you use the key. When you do a delete and you print, you find that now the topic element is gone. You're only left with the description and the week. So apart from storing values into the container, list and dictionary, we can also run through all the elements. Sometimes you need to run through all the elements inside the container to do some operations. So this is what we call traversing through the items or looping through the items. So we can use a for loop. If we put for I in my list, print I. This I will get the values inside the list. When you print, you will get 5 and loop. When you are looping, this value gets into I. Then you move on to the next element, it gets into I. So I always get the contents of the list. If you want to also access the position of the list together with the values inside the list, you can use this notation by using range. You can use length of the list to find out how many elements inside the list. So in this case, if you put length my list, this is going to return 2. And when you say for position in range 2, you are going to return, you're going to look through a value 0 and 1 in the position. And because you look through 0 and 1, you can put it inside this my list square bracket with the position. It will run through and get the value inside the list at the different positions. So when you do this, you find that it prints out the position and it prints out the value. So you can use this method to get the position as well as the value. But if you are just interested in getting the values, then you just use this simpler notation. For tuple is exactly the same. So if you can use for I, it gets the value. You can also use the position with range to get the value similarly as the list. You can also use a for loop to run through the items and get the items inside a dictionary. The differences between running through a loop in a dictionary and a list is that this variable gets the value inside the list, but this variable gets the key because dictionary has a key value pair. There's two things. So when you run through a loop, it only gives you the key. It doesn't give you the value. So if you want to get the value, once you get the key, you can use this notation, the name of the dictionary, square bracket with the key, you can get the content. So if you run through the loop like this, you can get the key and also the value. The key and also the value. A dictionary also provides you another notation whereby you can use for key, comma, value in the name of your dictionary, my dictionary.items. So if you do this, the key is stored inside this variable key and the value is stored inside this variable value. So you can either use this notation or use this notation. We've reached the end of this tutorial. Hopefully it's useful for you to understand how a list, tuple, and dictionary works. If it's helpful for you, please help to like the video. Thank you.